welcome to the UkeStuff channel, and welcome to this Uke Guide review of the Flight TUSL-35 long neck soprano ukulele, travel ukulele. I'll just spoil it right here. This is a home run for me. I don't know of another ukulele that I would put in this price point that is as much of a home run. I've had a chance to review a lot of ukuleles and to own a lot of ukuleles and to play a lot of ukuleles, and this is really, really good. Now, I do have to warn you that I am personally invested in this instrument in a couple of ways. First of all, I bought the soprano version of this a couple of years ago. It was on a massive sale at Amazon. I have no idea why it was. It was really cheap, so I bought one. And I initially didn't like it. I didn't like the washed out paint. I was questioning the wood textured fretboard. I was thinking about this edge and what it felt like, and I was really indifferent to it. And then I went over to a friend's house with that instrument, and they brought out their magic flute, and I listened to it, and I played both, and I felt both, and I interacted with both, and I realized how good the TUS-35 really was. Eyes just opened. So again, I'm not afraid to go back and say my initial thoughts were not so great. I was kind of indifferent, and then I fell in love with it, and it has become a favorite ukulele of mine. Well, I contacted Flight, and I said, hey, could you guys make a concert version of this, because I'm really a concert player. That's my number one thing I like to do. Would you do that? And they wrote back and said, yeah, we'll keep in touch. We'll think about it. And they got back to me months later and said, hey, guess what? We've decided to make a long neck soprano version of it instead of a concert. And I thought, perfect. And I'll be honest with you, my heart is really open to the idea of soprano long necks because you get a little bit extra spacing. Maybe a little bit more string power, but that's debatable. But still, the traditional ukulele sound, it's pretty cool. It's a nice combination. And I've really fallen in love with that form factor. So, also, as a disclaimer, I've been working with Flight a little bit, writing some things for them. And this one was sent to me as a thank you for the writing that I've been doing with them. So again, not really payment. I don't really work for them, but I do some stuff for them and with them, and I just think you need to know that too. Just being in honest disclosure doesn't mean I feel any differently about this instrument, rather if it would have been me spending the money or somebody else. So what I'm going to do in this video, like I do all the Uke Guide reviews, first of all, I'm going to talk about subjective issues with the ukulele. Then I'm going to talk about objective issues, so just the data, and then I'll come back with a summary of everything that I've talked about. So let's start. First of all, one of the things that makes this a home run is it is $54.95 list price, and you can buy it pretty much anywhere that there is a Hal Leonard book in your music store. Hal Leonard is the distributor, and any music company that has Hal Leonard products can ask Hal Leonard to send them one of these for you to buy, so you can buy this at your local store. Incidentally, I think I can say this with some confidence, Flight would really love for you to order their instruments through a local store rather than just being an internet or an online retailer. They've even closed their own instrument purchase options from their website because of that, and I think that's totally fair. It helps the industry continue, and you get the same great price, the same great instrument from your local music store. That's pretty cool. Not everybody can do that, so that's excellent in that regard. So $54.95, that's an incredible price, and you also get, I've got it right over here, a very thin gig bag with it. And if you watched my 1-minute review of this instrument, I do talk about the fact that you'd probably want a different gig bag for a couple of reasons. This is functional. It's basically a dust cover and a holder with a strap, so it's a little bit easier to carry. But if you want to carry anything else like a tuner or some other miscellaneous things, there's no pocket. So you might want a different bag, but it does include that bag for $54.95 when that's not even the cost of the instrument for a lot of other instruments. So it's, as we talk about value, this is a home run. It's a home run. To get equivalent sound from another instrument of a similar manufacturer is $250. And basically that's 5 of these. A little bit less, but still, that's a heck of a bargain. So highly, highly recommended because the value really exceeds the price. The build quality is flawless, and they had a problem with the first generation, just a few. First generation flights, they used to have a compensated saddle. If you look at my review of my flight TUSL-35, mine has a compensated saddle. There were a couple people who had breakage of the compensated saddle when they changed strings, so they changed that. It's now just a standard saddle. The build quality is really good, and then they've also changed a couple of other things with the instrument, and this also goes with the new TUSL-35. So not only do you have that new saddle and bridge, but they changed the dots. The old dots kind of used to be floral or like a little flower, which I wasn't so crazy about myself. I know some people like that, but I kind of like that. You do get the fret marker dots or the position markers on the side. You do get the strap button on the bottom, no strap button on the top, and that's kind of what you're looking at. So it's really well built. I like the new sticker though too. Let's see if I can get the light in there. I like the new sticker on the inside as well. That looks pretty good. Some people don't like the injection mold button there, but you know what? That's against you most of the time too. And it's a $55 ukulele. Seriously. So in terms of the appearance, it's pretty plain. So as you look at the score, plain doesn't mean bad, but you get that washed out paint that grows on you. Originally, that washed out light blue on my other one, I didn't really like it. It grew on me over time, and that I actually now like, but originally I thought, I was like, what kind of bad finish is that? There are other versions of this, and there are going to be more versions just like the TUSL-35 in time with other patterns. And if you're a school or a company, they can even customize this plate and this wood soundboard for your organization. You'd have to check with Hal Leonard directly for pricing on that. I don't know what that would be yet. So I do like the new front position markers. I do like the strap button. I like everything about it, but it's still plain, and that's okay. It's all good. Availability, you can get these right now at your local dealer. I already talked about that. Now, in terms of playability, it's got a longer fretboard. It seems like it has even a little bit of a flatter neck profile at the top. It kind of flattens a little more. You had me at longer neck with the same instrument. So it's a home run for me. And this rounded back has a lot to do, I think, with the magic of that sound. I don't think there's anything too magic about, I think it's lindenwood that they say is the top. I don't think there's anything super about that. They could drop any kind of wood in there, I think, and you'd have a very similar sound. Obviously it works, but I think it's that back that does the magic. So in terms of sound quality, no, it's not a Koa. It's not my Koa Aloha that would cost me $1,500 to buy new. This is a $55 instrument that's a combination hybrid of wood and plastic that sounds great towards the level of a much, much more expensive similar product. So it has great punch and sound. I'm totally in love with this instrument in terms of sound. So it's nice and loud, and one of the rare negatives I have, and it's not even about the instrument itself, is that the Elise Eklund TUS model, not the TUSL model, comes with Aquila sugar strings, and those strings are more like fluorocarbons, so they bring out the high frequencies. I cannot wait to stop this video and go and take some Martin 600s and put them on this instrument, because I'm going to like that sound even more. So if I have a complaint, is I wish that there were the sugar strings on these too. If I were going to buy one, I would pay the extra $5. Perhaps you'd have to charge for that. So I would pay $60 for this instrument with Aquila sugar strings on it. But that's just me. You might like the Aquila Nile gets more, but I think you do really get kind of a darker mid-range sound, and just the change of strings will make such a difference here. Now, with that in mind, let's look at the actual objective data about the instrument. Its scale length is concert. Even though they're calling it a soprano, it's a concert scale instrument from nut to saddle. It's actually 15.625 inches from nut to saddle, so it's actually a little bit longer than many concerts. Incidentally, the TUS is 14 inches, so that's a little bit longer than most sopranos. So just like the soprano gets you more towards the concert, this instrument gets you a little more towards the tenor too. Has 17 frets. It does have side marker dots like we've talked about. It's a traditional double bout, a linden soundboard, and the back and sides and neck are all ABS. The bridge is a slotted ABS bridge. The saddle is removable. It is not compensated, incidentally, but with that slotted bridge, really easy to do string changes. It's not a radius fretboard. It's flat. The nut and saddle, again, are ABS, and it does have a 0 fret. If you see it right there underneath, you can see that it has a little line so that your intonation is generally pretty good. The finish is flat, although you can get different prints and there'll be more available in time. It's 23 inches from tip to tail. It weighs in at 1 pound, 2.5 ounces, so a little bit heavier, partly because of the materials, partly because of the neck length, and it's still overall pretty well balanced. Can't argue with that, which is pretty amazing too. Open geared generic tuners that work just fine. The action at the first fret was 0.5 millimeters, so good for me. Actually, the 12th was 2.75 millimeters, a little higher than I prefer, but it works, and it also probably adds a little more volume to it. The nut width is 36.50 millimeters, but that's deceiving because the 0 fret is not as wide as that. The space between strings is 9.76 millimeters, which is pretty wide, giving you 30.79 millimeters G to A. That's pretty nice and wide, and getting towards the tenor scale again for even some wider neck tenors like 38 millimeters. And then the depth at the 3rd fret is 20.93, and this profile seems more flattened and scooped than even the TUS, and I think that makes it really nice and playable. So let's talk about the instrument in summary. I would like to think that my feedback about wanting a longer neck caused that to happen. It didn't. But they were kind enough to respond to me after contacting them. But ultimately, when I realized how good that previous model was, I wanted a concert version of it because that's what I play. And ultimately, they had a better idea. They made a long neck soprano, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's just a little bit longer in scale length than many concerts, but it is really, really good with some improvements over the original TUS-35, which incidentally are now in their current models of the TUS-35. So I think this might be the ideal ukulele for beginners and schools. There are like 3 to 4 instruments that I can recommend to a school with confidence. This is the cheapest of those, and it is an incredibly good sounding option. It's a home run. This is a home run. So I rate ukuleles from 0 to 5 ukuleles. This one gets a full 5. If you are interested in a travel ukulele, an ukulele to buy for a school or a group, something that can sustain or handle a little bit of damage, it's tough, this is it. This is it. Home run by Flight. It's really good, and it's just exciting to see how Flight just continues to innovate and kind of shake up the ukulele world in a good way. So that is the Flight TUSL-35. This one happens to be the DB, the dark blue. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll have more content for you in the very near future.